This show is sponsored by APCW Wrestling Academy. Learn wrestling from WWE Hall of Famer Robert Gibson. If you're interested in becoming a professional wrestler, contact them at 770-871-5417 or online at apcwdouglasville@gmail.com. Also, buy Collar and Elbow brand. Save 10% on your next purchase by using our discount code WPNWrestle. That's WPNWrestle at checkout and get a discount on great collar and elbow products.
What? Okay. Catchphrases make the boys gonna have impressions on the house, like the kids on the house. After this game, we're gonna have box all the time to stop us at our pulse. Boner fit.
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Stunt woman, actress, football player, and maybe future pro wrestler. Today on the podcast, I have a multi-talented, easy for me to say, multi-sports personality joining me. Some of you may know her as I guess I should say, former number 10 of the Cleveland Crush. But tonight we're going to talk to this young lady about all her entertainment aspirations and / endeavors, where she was, where she expects to be in the future. Will she ever be seen, professionally speaking, in the good old square circle? So this should be a good conversation, folks. My guest on the rights and wrongs of pro wrestling podcast tonight, I will say soon-to-be superstar, Susan Cashdollar.
Wow, that's a big intro there. A lot of pressure.
Am I pressuring you already?
That's a lot to live up to right there.
You are, dipping your toe in the pool that is professional wrestling, so you should get used to those type of intros and things like that.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so so just for the benefit of those that are out there listening to this, I want to explain that we're going to kind of be splitting the field here, because I don't think that you can legitimately talk to you without having talked about the LFL to some degree, that being assumably your past. I don't know if you're still in it at this point. Some of your stunt work, and of course the wrestling and your tryout. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, because I think that's probably an interesting discussion in and of itself. So I want everybody to know what we're kind of getting prepped and ready for. But before we do, the proper thing would be social media, because I'm sure there are people out there that probably have not officially begun to follow you, but they may want to following this conversation. So we'll do it now, and then we'll do it later. If people want to follow Miss Cashdollar, where can they find you?
I'm pretty plain Jane. It's Susan Cashdollar on Instagram and Susan Cashdollar on Twitter.
Okay, so that's easy.
Yeah, that's very easy. And I don't post too much on Twitter right now. I think I'm mostly active on Instagram. I have a Facebook page too, and I'm not very active on there right now, so probably Instagram would be the best bet.
Okay, so the Instagram is going to be your best bet out there, folks. If you want to follow her and her journey, that'll probably be the thing to do. I'm not going to ask, because I've already heard that Cashdollar is your legitimate and real last name. But I will say that if there was a name that was meant for the pro wrestling industry, that's probably it. So, are you going to be walking in with that, or do you expect to do some flipping around on the Cash Dollar logo or anything like that?
Well, that's what they liked about. So when I actually had a tryout with the WWE in 2014, and that was coming off of when I played for the LFL, and that was one of their big interests in me was my last name. And when I was in Florida, I got a lot of talk about, if I was signed on, how I could just keep my name. And so, yeah, I think if I was ever signed by the WWE, I think that would be, I would just go with Cash Dollar.
Yeah, that's like serving up a gimmick on a silver platter. Cash
Yeah,
Dollar.
kind of like a Ted DiBiase type of villainish character,
Ah,
I guess.
now is that something that you would actually want to do? Do you think that you could go playing the over the top millionaire or millionairess if need be?
Yeah, something like that. I always thought if I was any character, I would like to be somebody dark and
What?
villainous. I think
Why?
that's what I do in stunts too. I like to be the bad guy, and I don't know. That's always just like the role that's attracted me is to be the villain.
But you seem like such a sweet person.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's because it's opposite of really who I get to be, I guess, or who I am, and it's fun.
Okay, well, let's start from the beginning here. Were you always an athletic person? Give me a little bit of the rundown of the sports that you have participated in thus far.
Well, growing up, I was into basketball and softball. I was a pitcher for at my high school for 4 years. So that was probably like my big sport in high school was softball. I played volleyball. I ran cross country. I wasn't too great at anything growing up. I kind of dabbled into everything, so I was good at everything, but I never was really exceptional at any particular sport. So I didn't go to college for sports, but I went to college for 6 years, and I got my degree in exercise physiology. So my degree itself is very active, and right now I'm a wellness director and a personal trainer, and I think above any sport, I just love to be in the gym, lifting weights and conditioning and training, and because I do all of that, I think I'm good at pretty much any, like wrestling and the stunt work that I do, and it all kind of stems from what I do in the gym and the conditioning that I do and the strength program and all of that.
Okay, so more or less you were a jack of all, or I guess I'm going to say a Jill of all trades, but master of none. If we're going to go by what you just said there, is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I admire people. For me, I like to just. There's so much that I want to do that I feel like it's more than dabbling. Like I get involved in stuff, but there's so much that I want to do that I've never really invested all of me into one route. And I've always admired people that know exactly what they want to do, and at a very young age too, and can invest all of their energy into that sport or whatever it is. I've always been kind of all over the place.
Well, at least you can admit it. That's good, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just everywhere. Well, but I'm gonna assume at some point within that run, I mean, you've named off a couple of things that you did, and you've admitted that you kind of at least tried your hand at a lot of different things. But at some point, you must have thought, "Hey, I'd like to give playing sports professionally a try." Uh, which I'm going to assume led to the LFL. Was that the the kind of thought process that brought you to that, or was there a different route that you took?
Yeah, when I was this was 2011 when I played in the LFL, and I was living in Pittsburgh at the time, and I just happened to see a game on TV, and at the time it was on MTV2. So I saw a game. I hadn't heard anything about it, but I saw the game, and I was like, what is this? I watched the game, and I just thought to myself, I could do that. And I was training. I didn't have anything that I was really competing for or training for. Or there was no competition, and I felt like that would be something that I could train for, and like an outlet for all of the training that I was doing. So I looked into it, and the following season, they were hosting a tryout in Cleveland. And I ended up commuting from Pittsburgh to Cleveland for the tryout. And the very first day, we were at some facility, some sports facility in a suburb here, and there were over 200 girls at the tryout. And I think they ended up cutting it off because there were too many girls there for the tryout. And we had, I don't know how familiar you are with Browns football, but Hanford Dixon was our coach, Bob Golick, Ricky Feature. So they were all there at the tryout. And I think that first round they ended up cutting it down to about 60, 70 girls, and I made it through. And then from there, it was just a long process. I think that was like March, and then we had a few more little cuts made, and then finally maybe in June we knew officially that we were on the team or not. And then at that point, I think I just decided, I was commuting, like a 2-hour drive, 2-hour plus drive from Cleveland to Pittsburgh to Cleveland. So I just decided to move to Cleveland once I knew for sure that I was on the team. And it was a good experience, very physical. I didn't know much about football going into it, so I learned a lot, along the way, and just
Really?
with each practice. Yeah. So it was just learning how to play football for me, and being physical too. I was a tight end, so I was on the line, and that was a lot of fun for me. But with anything like that, it's a grind. It didn't pay, so you had to work full time. And then I was training on top of that, and then I had to go to 2 or 3 practices a week. And then, you're getting beat up and putting yourself out there. So for me, I wasn't passionate about it. So after the year, I knew that I wasn't going to come back. But I definitely respect the girls there were girls that were on my team. Like, this was 2011, that are still playing today, and that's been 7 years.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you do have to respect it, and as I'm hearing you talk about it, I'm hearing a lot of parallels in a couple of different things. Well, one specifically, of course, the wrestling world has a lot of that, where the pay isn't great. If you're on the independent circuit, you gotta love it. If you're gonna participate and go forth and really chase after that. Also, and I'm sure for those that have listened to any number of the podcasts I had, they may have come across an interview with some of the individuals I talked with the WOW, because you just opened the door for something for me that I wasn't really aware of, and that it sounds like the LFL was just an open door policy for athletic women to try, and we will train you to play the game once you're here. Is that fair?
yeah, it's kind of like wrestling too. And there were girls that played. There are different football leagues out there for women, and in Cleveland, I forget what it is, like maybe I'm going to say it wrong, AFL, or it's another football league for women. So
Well, I
there
know
were
2 of them, at least at the time. I don't know if they still exist. I know there was the Women's Football Alliance and the Independent Women's Football League. Now, I don't know if those were the ones that you're specifically talking about, but I know that they existed, or maybe one of them still exists. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we had a couple of girls, well, more than a couple, play football with another league. We had girls from, because there weren't very many franchises, I think there were only maybe 8 in the nation, in the LFL at the time, so 4 on the East Coast, 4 on the West Coast. We had girls commuting from Detroit or like Toledo or Pittsburgh, or just that was like the closest franchise to them, Cleveland. So we ended up playing Tampa, Orlando, and I think Baltimore, and I think that was it at the time. So we had girls that commuted, and a lot of the girls did have a football background, and then me and other girls had sports backgrounds, and yeah, we were brought on, and we were just kind of taught football as we went too.
Okay.
And it was weird because it was during my season, the games were live on MTV2, so we only played 4 games the entire season, and it was aired Friday night, so everyone kind of had a turn, and there were 8 teams, and I think each team played 4 different times. So it wasn't like we had a huge schedule. We practiced a lot for 4 games. But yeah, it was different. I wouldn't take it back. It was a good experience, and I was new to Cleveland, and I met 19 girls, right there from just being on a team with them. A lot of them were still really close, good friends. So overall, good experience.
Well, I'm glad I asked you about that, because the parallel for the LFL and WoW, it is amazing to me as you're talking about it, that, like what you just said, the entirety of your season, yeah, you trained a lot, and certainly don't want to discount that or take away from it, but the entirety of the season was the 4 games. Whereas in WoW, or at least in the original season of WoW, for those that don't know, that was Women of Wrestling, that was run out of California at the time, David McLean, and they still pop back up here and there. But I mean, I know women that were on that show whose entire professional wrestling career was maybe 3 or 4 matches, possibly 5. And much like what you said, they walked into this thing very athletic, very, very with a high aptitude for, let's say, for sports, but didn't necessarily wrestle before they walked into that business, or not that business, but into that promotion. And they were taught maybe inside of 3 to 4 months before they were put on TV. And now you're having to perform, much like what you're talking about, on a televised product, and be good. So hats off.
And that was again 7 years ago, and I haven't followed much since. So I'm not sure. Maybe a lot's changed since then, and I think they've been picked up. The last I heard, it was through Fuse TV, or it might be on a different station, but it could be completely different now. But that was just my experience, and at the time it was MTV2, and the games were live, and that was really exciting that the games were live. And we had an awesome venue. We played at Quicken Loans, where the Cavs play.
Okay.
So we had a really cool venue, and I think at the time it was like one of the LFL's high moments. Like, it was kind of their peak, especially being live on MTV2. And but again, I don't know what's going on with them so much now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you're pretty far removed from it at this stage of it. But considering that you walked into it in 2011, they were, at the time, the Lingerie Football League, opposed to what they are now, the Legends Football League. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Not only, I guess I can't really ask you this, so I'm going to speculate. The only real reason I've known for them to kind of change the name and kind of alter the uniforms up a little bit, I don't think it's a huge difference, but it looks more like, let's say, sports attire or opposed to lingerie at this stage. I'm guessing, and maybe you could chime in on it with your opinion, but I'm guessing a lot of that was just for the sake of sponsorships, or trying to make it more palatable for a television audience who might have an opposing point of view about it. I mean, what say you?
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that just to be taken more seriously and more respect,
Mm.
But again, I've been so far removed from it. I did see one of my friends who I think she plays for Chicago now, and I think they were wearing like long spandex pants.
Yeah.
It might have been it might have been warm ups.
Well, they have those pictures in the on the roster photos now. So that again, I don't know how, if that's what they're wearing. Like I said, it could be the warm ups for all I know. But when I saw it, I was like, okay, they're progressing again. Looks like it, because the first thing I thought about when I was I guess doing the research on what you playing at the time, was like, okay, if I take a hit wearing this outfit, I don't know how much protection I got. Even
Oh
if
yeah,
I was like, if you drag me across the turf, like that just feels in my mind. I'm like, this has got to be like massive rug burn.
oh that turf burn is real. That it's my one of my only injuries.
Mhm.
I I broke my nose,
Oh.
and that was early on before we even played any games. It was during a practice. It was a teammate. I got an elbow to the nose,
Mhm.
and my only other injury was during warm ups. So we're out running some routes and stuff, just warming up, and I tripped over one of my teammates' foot, and I just slid on my stomach, and I got turf burn like all down my stomach, down my leg, down the side of my face. It was bad. It was just
I
from
bet.
just being clumsy and taking a fall.
Well, see, I can imagine. And again, going back and looking at the uniforms at the time, opposed to what they're wearing now. And I don't want to make it sound like it's a massive difference. Other than maybe if they are legitimately playing with the tights on, then that would be great for your legs, I guess. But it just didn't seem like, man, that there's not a lot here to to pad this. So you can really drag somebody across that turf and just mess them up.
Right. Yep. It's no joke.
Would you like to talk about the rap you performed in the locker room?
Oh, did you see that? Oh yeah.
Of course I did. I just research I
So that
did.
was a that was a pregame ritual,
Ah,
and
okay.
I don't even know how it started. Um, but I don't know how I was put in that place either. Maybe it kind of spins off my last name a little bit.
Hmm.
Um,
Ah,
but
yes.
that was something that we did before each game. We would get into a huddle and just kind of just to take the anxiety off of us a little bit,
Hmm.
just to have some fun before the game. Um, that was actually the rap kind of started there, and then when I went back to the WWE this past February, um, I used my last name Cashdollar, and I had a silver dollar sign chain, and I went in and my promo was Cashdollar, and I put together a rap and I dissed all the girls on the at the time current main roster in a rap.
Uh, oh boy. Now, I wish that's not recorded somewhere now, is it?
Oh, it's recorded somewhere, but you'll probably never see it.
Oh man. Ah, if I could only get a hold of that. Now, for those that are listening to this podcast, if you do want the rap that you can see and hear, you can go to her Instagram and you can see her perform her rap, the pregame ritual, right there in the Crush locker room. If I'm good, I may be able to pull it off and stick it into this podcast for your listening pleasure. So, just
Okay.
if you happen to hear it here, then you know I was successful. If not, then I will leave the link, and you can go to her Instagram. You can just scroll down and kind of find it. Um, I do not believe that the Toledo Crush still exists, so I'm going to kind of go into your history in that 1 year. Did you wind up playing? I don't know. Was it called the Legends Cup at the time?
No, we were a brand new franchise, and
Okay.
we were the Cleveland Crush at the time. And
Oh,
then I
okay.
think the following year it was the Cleveland Crush. And the year after that, must have been 2013, they moved to Toledo and
Oh,
became, I think, Toledo Crush.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's right. I got ahead of myself. I said in the beginning that you were with the Cleveland Crush, and I put Toledo in my notes. But yeah, they at some point they did become the Toledo Crush. I'm not sure if they're still around. But what you're playing for all season long, I guess the equivalent of what the LFL would call the Super Bowl, uh, was it titled the Legends Cup at the time? And if so, did you get to that? Did your team make it?
We didn't. We were so far from it that I think we lost every game, and yeah, we had no chance in that. And I don't think it was the Legends Cup because we were still the Lingerie Football League. So I don't know what it was called. Maybe the LFL Super Bowl, something like that.
Well,
LFL Cup.
uh,
But in our defense, we were a brand new franchise kind of put together, and the other teams had been developed and had girls who were returning. So it was kind of like a rookie year for all of us. And there's a learning curve to it, and yeah, that's my excuse.
well, that's fine. That works. Did you ever think about going back? I mean, not considering now that it has turned over a little bit. Now, I don't know if the pay is any better. I haven't checked into that. From my notes, I do not think that has become a huge difference. It may be something, but I don't think that there's been any real monetary gain, at least for the players. But has it ever crossed your mind, like, what, I think I might like to go back?
No, I think after my first year and even during my first year, I knew I wasn't passionate about football.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's something that I haven't thought about doing.
Now, wrestling, on the other hand, well, how do you feel on that? Because I've seen a couple of things from you, and again, let's go back to what you said earlier, is that you kind of have spread yourself out. You've been in the stunt work. You uh, I guess performed acting to some degree. You've been in the wrestling ring, and you seem like for all intents and purposes, you seem like you enjoy it. Uh, where would you rank your passion in those fields? Not wrestling singularly, but just these other endeavors that you've been a part of.
Well, the stunt work is what actually got me back into wrestling, and a lot of it. I've met a lot of people who are wrestlers and who do stunts, and I'm finding out more about each sport or each outlet, as I go. But there are a lot of wrestlers that I've come across that do stunt work and vice versa. And stunt work is awesome because you can do it. Could be a fight scene, or it could be something as little as maybe a director needs you to fall down a set of steps for the actor, or maybe you just need to stand in for an actor. Maybe it's like a risky scene, and they want to they want a second team to come in and kind of run through it first. And it could be something like that, or you could be in like a Marvel movie and be like Scarlett Johansson's stunt double. And it could be fighting, it could be weaponry. You could be really good with guns or medieval weapons, or a bow stick, or it could be anything that you specialize in. Or you could be good at everything, and you could be good at jumping off of a building, or high falls like that. So stunt work's really cool because it's a lot of like wrestling too, and like MMA stuff when you're fighting, but it's also much more than that also. And the wrestling is awesome, and you're in a ring and you have this personality and this character, and you're out there. You're not, stunt doubles are never seen in the movies. They go in and, they do the dirty work and really don't get credit for it. Where wrestling is, you have a character and you're in the ring and you're on display and you're out there and,
You get all the credit.
Right.
That's right, and all the praise. And you're correct on both fronts. I guess you can point your finger at the ballot of the unknown stuntman to really bring home the point for what you're talking about there, because the job of the stuntman or stuntwoman in this case is to be invisible.
Right.
I mean, there was somebody that she sent me a demo reel for her stunt work, and I'm like, I know that is her, but for the most part, I'm like, I can't see you. I don't know. I can't see your face here because that's how they shot it. Like they shot this stuff specifically so you would look like the person that you're standing in for. So I can't really, judge it on those terms. The physicality is great, but in terms of me like, hey, there's so and so, I can hardly do that.
Yeah, I mean, you can point out and you can say, hey, that's my leg right there. That's my arm.
I
but
guess
honestly, the better you get at stunts, the better you're going to be at wrestling, and vice versa. The better you get at your wrestling and the stuff that you do in the ring, all the tricks and stuff, the better you're going to be at stunts. And I've had a couple of wrestlers actually reach out to me asking about stunts and how to get into it. And just really with all that, the wrestling and even football, just being physical and learning it's really all about learning how to fall properly and take a hit. And if you can do that or take a bump, or, you're halfway there.
Do you enjoy taking these hits and bumps?
Yeah, I do. Wrestling's a lot of fun to me. I enjoy being in the ring. I get excited when I see something and I need to find out how that person did it. Mm-hmm. And I like to learn new tricks, and it's not just wrestling, but it's like gymnastics and yoga and, everything that I do in the gym. I constantly want to get better and learn new things. And that carries over to the wrestling too. I like any new skills, any new tricks. With stunts, it's learning new fight moves, or it's always a challenge.
You sound like you got quite a bit on your plate. As I'm hearing you name it off yoga and stunt work and wrestling. I mean that's a lot of stuff. Do you even have time to go and train in a wrestling ring?
I somehow make time for it. It's tough because I want to be the strongest, and I don't want to I squat and I bench and I deadlift, and then I do a bunch of yoga too, but then I want to stay conditioned, and I row a lot and I run a lot. And then if my strength starts to slip, I go back and I hit the weights a little harder, and then maybe my time conditioning starts to slip a little bit, or I'm not doing as much yoga as I want to be doing, or I'm not spending as much time learning new skills or doing gymnastics or getting in the ring or working with the stunt team. So it's a lot. It's a lot to handle. And I know some wrestlers too, and I respect them. Like like my friend Michael Hutter, EC3, he's just a big dude. Like, he lifts a lot. Anybody who lifts a lot, and then on top of that, like, you can tell, like, they spend a lot of time in the gym, and then on top of that, they have to train in the wrestling ring too, and that's hard. Like, you're exhausted. You do so much in the gym, and then you got to do wrestling on top of that. That's tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. I couldn't do it. Let me just be honest and clear right now for anybody that's out there that I don't have the willpower to get myself up to do that day in and day out. It is not as easy a gig as some people tend to believe, which brings me to another thing that, in the time that I've covered this, and quick plug for me on the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, I've seen quite a bit of people come and go. They got in and for whatever reasons and for a variety of reasons, they have faded away or just up and quit, or some of them didn't even really get through practice. Well, I shouldn't say practice, but the training set portions of it. Uh, you don't seem to be that type of personality where it's going to break you. But I want to ask, is there a timetable in your head for an in-ring debut?
Soon. It would have to be soon. I don't have any specific date, but
Well, I mean,
and I'm not
no specific date,
I'm
but
not there yet. I want it to be the right moment.
okay.
So hopefully very soon.
Okay. We'll if I'm going to add my 2 cents to that, could I wrap that in saying soon might be underneath 3 months?
Maybe. We'll
Maybe.
see.
Okay. Hey, you're practicing how to be a vague heel. Don't ask me these questions, Mean Gene. Move on. Okay, so we
No,
got.
that's my honest answer though too, is I really don't have it's just not ready. I'm just not ready yet, but soon.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. That you admit that you're not ready, and give a plus because again, having done this for a while, watched it for a while, there are those who got in not ready at all. Some of which admitted to me that they hadn't really even been trained, but that's another story for another day. So, we'll move on with that. So, bravo to you for at least giving it the respect it deserves to not get in until you're perfectly ready.
Mhm.
But now, that aside, you're training now, but you also got a tryout with the largest wrestling promotion. I mean, I know they don't call themselves a wrestling promotion, but you got a tryout with the largest functioning wrestling promotion in the world.
I did. Yes.
So I mean, now
I've had 2 tryouts with them now.
two. Okay, see now, right now, I want you to listen out into the world, because any wrestler that's on the indies that's listening to this is probably turning green at this particular moment.
Mhm.
So, but I mean, because it's hard enough to get in there once, much less twice.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, initially, I think if you're asking like how I got the tryout,
Yes, let's go with how. Let's start with the hows.
2014.
Mm-hmm.
I think from, I submitted my information like anybody else. I went onto the site and uploaded my photos and my bio, and I'd actually gotten an email maybe 2 months out from the tryout and just asking me to come down. But I think it's my history in sports and lingerie football, and I think it's a combination of that and maybe a little bit I have a different look. I'm very muscular, and that I don't think you see, at least I haven't seen a lot of that in women's wrestling. So I think my look is a little different, and my last name definitely helps. So my first tryout was in 2014, and I wasn't ready for it at all. I'd never stepped foot into a ring before. I thought it was something that I could, just because of the training that I was doing at the time, I just thought it was something I could go down there and I'd be fine. And I didn't have a big notice before the tryout either, so I was just very unprepared for it. And I knew as soon as I'd stepped foot, into the Performance Center that I really, really just let a good thing go right there. So that whole tryout didn't go well. I'd never had run the ropes. I'd never taken a bump before. The rolling that we do, the front rolls, the back rolls, the shoulder rolls, the blow up drills, any of that. And even a promo. I had nothing really. I was just unprepared. And I regretted that. And a few years had passed. I got into stunts. And like I said, a lot of the stunt stuff that you do just carries over into wrestling, just learning how to fall and how to take hits. And I just realized that I thought at the time, 4 years ago, that I couldn't do wrestling. And then when I got into stunts, I realized that, you could do anything. I learned how to do a lot of the falls and the moves, and I reached back out to the WWE, and I asked them for my second tryout, and they invited me back. So I got the second tryout in February, and it was complete 180 from my first tryout. It couldn't have gone, in my opinion, any better for myself. So I was really happy when I left in February, just with the training that I did and how I prepared for it. And I just went in there really confident, and I just left everything there. And so when I left on the last day of the tryout, I was just completely happy with what I did.
Okay. That's cool. And I guess that would be the tryout that I read about at the time, as on the Facebook page that I operate. We got that press release that the WWE put out about, hey, you know how they give a listing of everybody and their qualifications and who we have coming out for this quarter tryout and so on and so forth. And lo and behold, one of the names that we saw in there was Susan Cashdollar. And they did play it up. Former LFL football player and stunt woman and all that good stuff. And they had the picture right up there in front of the ring and the Performance Center with the WWE shirt on and the whole 9 yards. Which you can go see on our Facebook page right now, by the way.
Yeah, so I mean that was I have no regrets. I put up, like I said, I put everything out there the second time, and I was prepared for it, and couldn't have done anything else.
Okay, so you came out of that. You felt like the second time around was as good as you could have possibly done, which is a big thumbs up. So now you have a little, the experience. You've gone through the Performance Center, but I'll get back. I'm gonna loop back around to the Performance Center in a minute. But so when you left there, did the light bulb go off in your head? Like, you know what? I think I want to give this wrestling thing a go.
Yeah, and it was even before then. It was
okay.
It was in prep for that, and I knew if this doesn't happen for me, then I'm going to still continue to train, and I'm going to still be, I can still end up somewhere else in the wrestling world. So that was a thought. Like, as soon as I started training for it, I knew that if it didn't work out, I would still be there and I would still be training for it.
While you're there, I mean, and I've only talked to maybe, I don't know, 2 people that I can think of off the top of my head that went through the whole Performance Center deal. One of which was, I guess, about a month ago, Lindsay Snow, in fact. And on camera, she told me it was one of the hardest things that she had done, just in terms of what they put her through while she was there. What say you? What did they put you through while you were at the center, physically speaking?
It was tough. It was. I feel like I'm at, as far as like my conditioning goes.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been more conditioned and in better shape than I am right now, and it was tough. We just the drills. I mean, you can do all you want in the gym, but the drills that you do in the ring are just a different test. And we did a lot of blow up drills, and I don't know if you're familiar with the bag drill.
No.
So it's like you hit the rope and you do a burpee, jump over the bag, burpee, hop back up. So we did 3 minutes straight of just that at one point, and that was probably the most brutal of all of our conditioning. But it was definitely a test. It was a lot of conditioning. You spend a day with the strength and conditioning coach. It's just constant go, and they don't hold back on you. So you have to go in the best shape of your life and be ready for that.
So that's fair warning to anybody that's out there that's looking to go to the PC. That is not a cakewalk.
Oh yeah, you gotta be on your A game. You have to be in better shape than you probably already are, and especially your conditioning. That's definitely a must. Just running the ropes and burpees and jumping over the bag and doing a ton of rolls, and if you're not conditioned, you won't make it.
Intimidation factor. Did it? Some people would wind up being a little bit intimidated just being in the same building as some of the people that they are. I mean, I know that could be just the hardcore wrestling fans or anything like that. Coming across what's the guy, Matt Bloom, and some of the people that they work with. Did the jitters get to you, like, oh man, I'm here again, or any of that stuff hit you before you started, or were you just in beast mode at that particular point?
My first time around, yes, because I was not prepared. So just lack of confidence, just because I wasn't prepared. I had, that was nerve-wracking. This second time, I was very confident. Not a lot of nerves. I was just there and I was ready to go. And I'd been there before, so I was familiar with the place and kind of more familiar. I've only been to Orlando several times now, but just more familiar with the area and just my getting around. And I just confidence is everything. And I was completely prepared for it. And even my promo, we got those out of the way the first day, so that was nice. So then after that, it was just everything was in ring or just conditioning or, working in the gym. So not a lot of nerves. I was excited to be there and just I enjoyed every bit of it and just put everything into it.
Well, we have to talk your personality. You brought up the promo, and yes, and if I'm not mistaken, you have a picture floating around, perhaps on your Instagram. We're going to plug that again, where you're in the ring, and if I'm not mistaken, there were some dollar bills kind of floating around, perhaps by your feet.
Yeah, I made it rain a little bit.
So now you have to get the story there, because now this is promo land, and you're showing off your personality. You made it rain. Your name's Susan Cashdollar, so I'm sure there's a thread that kind of wraps through all of that. Give me the story here.
The story with my promo?
Yeah, the story with the promo.
Oh yeah, like I said, it was a rap, and I put together a little rap, a 60-second rap, and I dissed every girl on the main roster at the time, and I had my dollar bills, and I had my dollar sign chain, and just went up there and rapped. And I mean, with the promos, you can't hold back, so it was over the top, and you just have to go with it. So
now I guess within this, were you assigned, hey, this is what I need you to do, or they just said, all right, it's promo time, hit me, give me the best you got?
Yeah, you're not assigned anything, so you come up with, it could be anything. You could come up with, and a lot of the girls were already had a gimmick, so you could come with that, or they could come with anything. But you have 60 seconds in front of the camera to make an impression, and you can do whatever you want with it. So honestly, like, the crazier the better. You want to stand out, so just something completely out of the box, and anything. You could be as creative as you are and just come up with anything that you want.
Okay. So I'm going to assume that you walked into that building before they even said the word promo, already knowing that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, you have to have something prepared, especially if you have props, or everyone knows before the tryout that there's going to be a day where we do promos. So, and you have like 60 seconds to do something in front of the camera, in front of the staff, in front of the other wrestlers. So yeah, it'd be really, really bad if you had nothing prepared. I would imagine so. I would guess that one of the real questions that somebody out there that's listening that might have seen that picture could be asking right now, was it real money?
That was fake money. That was Amazon Prime fake money. I got for like $5. Yeah.
See, this is the point you're supposed to embellish. Like, yeah, those was all $100 bills. My name's Cashdollar. Of course it was real.
Yeah. I'll tell the truth, though. I got it off Amazon. It was like $12, sent to me in 2 days. So. Okay.
All right. Well, so there you go. Look, you learn something new here, kids. If you're making a movie and you need you some bills for your scene, go on Amazon for that fake money. And
yeah, it looks real. It looks real, except for up close, there's like a little red stamp on it, and like some Chinese lettering. So.
Okay. Well, see that is something new that I've learned. So now that we've established that you walked in there with personality, you walked in there physically ready, you've already gotten your mind set that I'm going to continue this wrestling thing. Can we get I don't want to say a preview of the Cashdollar persona? First off, have you finished tweaking her out?
No, you cannot get a preview. I'm gonna save that for my debut.
Okay, okay. But have you finished tweaking her out though? Have you smoothed out everything that in your head is like, okay, this is what I'm going to be when I go out there to that ring? We're not talking about WWE land. We're talking about on the independent wrestling circuit. Have you smoothed Cashdollar out?
Yeah, she's being smoothed out. I think it's just an exaggeration of who I really am too. And like if it's too far from who you really are, I don't think it's gonna work. So yeah, she's coming along. Cashdollar's coming along.
Are we gonna go by the single name, or are we going full name?
I don't know yet. We'll see.
Now what you should do, you should take a poll. You got some social media happening. You should ask us, should I just go Susan's Cashdollar, or should I just be Cashdollar? Now,
as a poll? Yeah, I could do that.
Now, if it's me, if I'm going to place my vote right now, I'm going to say last name. Go with Cashdollar.
Last name only.
Last name only. I can already see the T-shirt, just Cashdollar right across the shirt. Boom.
Yeah, I like that. I like Cashdollar.
Put that in a nice font with some chrome or something like that. Just right. You said yourself you want to be kind of over the top. The bigger you are, the better you are in the wrestling world. And see, you put Susan on, it humanizes you a little bit. You got Cashdollar. You're already bigger than big.
Yeah, the Susan does bring me down a little bit.
See, I wasn't going to say that. I'm not going to say it. Doesn't bring you down. See, I chose that word carefully. It humanizes you, makes you a regular person. You want Cashdollar to be big.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's just my outlook on it. But maybe I don't know if you are capable of asking your followers on Instagram, like, hey, which do you prefer? Should I be Susan Cashdollar or just Cashdollar? But maybe they can chime in and let you know.
That would be a good poll. Maybe I'll do that.
I think it'd be fun. Not to be a downer here during this conversation, but you knew Big Bully Busick, correct?
I did. He was a really good friend of mine, and I knew him when I was 18 years old. He was my boss. I used to work at Mountaineer Fitness Center in Chester, West Virginia, and he was the manager there at the time. And that's where I first met him, and I was 18, and he was big into lifting and powerlifting, and he put that gym together. I actually was on the treadmill next to him. This was probably when I was 19 or maybe even 20, and he ended up having a heart attack on the treadmill next to me.
Oh.
And that was, I don't know what year that would have been, maybe like 2004, 2005. But it was just a very scary thing that happened. And the ambulance came, and they brought the AED out, and they brought him back, and he had a really rough time. I don't know when he was initially diagnosed with cancer. I mean, that was years later after that had happened. But ever since that incident, we had been close friends, and he was always a big mentor in my life, and just a good friend all around. When he was first diagnosed with cancer, maybe like, I could be wrong, 4 or 5 years ago. He's just had it was just a long road, just to struggle with the cancer coming back. And the last time I saw him was before my tryout. We met up at a wrestling place in West Virginia, in Benwood, West Virginia. And we were just talking, and he took me through some drills and just was giving me advice and just being an awesome friend. And even at that time, he was a little sick. I think he was going through chemo, and but he was a popular guy. He was loved by a lot of people. He had a big family, a ton of friends, and all the way, till the end, he had people beside him, like a lot of support.
Yeah, see, I am in I guess, age class enough to remember the bully when he stepped in the ring, and a little bit before when he was in the territories. Old school, uh, classic tough guy gimmick. The tiny hat, the turtleneck, the big mustache, the cigar. I mean, it was like straight out of a cartoon. That guy, he was great.
Yeah.
But I do remember him in that respect. I know that you put a picture up with him on your Instagram, uh, which is why I asked. I didn't, like I said, not trying to bring the show down, folks. I know that might make some people sad out there, and him having recently passed away this month, in fact. But yeah, I don't think it would be uh, right for me not to have at least asked about the relationship and how he apparently influenced your wrestling aspirations and so on and so forth. I'm glad you're able to speak on that a little bit. I appreciate that. Uh,
Yeah, he was a great guy. I mean, I've never met anybody else like him. Just very, very generous and hardworking, and loved wrestling and his family. And he would he would do anything for anybody. And just a good guy.
I'm going to assume that you would cite him as somewhat of a in-ring inspiration to some degree. Would you cite anybody else that you, I don't know if I would say grew up watching, but began watching and looked at like, you know what, I like that guy or girl, whoever.
Yeah, I think I take a little bit from everybody. I don't think there's one person that I idolize or just. I think that I see different things everywhere that I go, and I've met a lot of people recently, just in the wrestling world, and I take a little bit from everybody, and just um, I guess of everybody, EC3 has been very helpful to me, and if before my child, he'd be the one that I would text and just ask for advice, and he's just awesome with the microphone. I think he's just good all around. Just what he does in the gym and his look and his gimmick, and just everybody. Just I like to get new ideas, and I'm really big into learning new tricks and things. So and not just wrestling too. Just a lot of stunt people and gymnasts and weightlifters. So I get my inspiration from a lot of people.
Okay. That's fair enough. And speaking of EC3, thank goodness they let that guy keep his EC3 gimmick.
Thank God, yeah. Yeah, he deserves that.
Well, I mean, when I saw him show up, I was like, man, that is great. That they didn't tamper with it, they didn't change him, they didn't. I mean, he basically is the same person without actually
Yeah,
calling himself Ethan Carter the third. I know they haven't done that, but still, other than that, he still top 1%, rich guy, better than you, so on and so forth. So that's awesome. 'Cause I did not
yeah.
want to go back to what he was in the original incarnation. I forget what his name was. At Derek Bateman. Yeah.
They're fake, yeah.
Yeah, so bravo for him. Perhaps you could borrow a little bit of that EC3 persona for Cash Dollar. I don't know.
Oh yeah, he's the perfect heel. Yeah, I think so.
Well, it sounds like you want to be a heel as well. I mean, you keep going. You went on about you not really, you want to play opposite of yourself and all that good stuff like that. So I don't know, man. Is Cash Dollar wanting to be one of the top 1% also, and buy people off like the $1 Million Man and all that good stuff?
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Now I'm waiting on you now, because as the guy that's running the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, it becomes my job, or at least my self-imposed job, to keep up with the talent that goes out into the independent circuit to the best of my abilities, so that I can report on it accurately.
I will. I'll let you know. I will. Any changes in my life, I will email you directly.
Well, that is fantastic. I
Be
actually
the
would
first to know.
have. Well, I'm sure I won't be the first, but thanks for the thought. I appreciate that. Uh, Now, you also wrote something on your Instagram. I'm going to see if I can call you out on this one just for a second. That somebody said that this would be a good catchphrase for Miss Cashdollar. Do you know what I'm talking about?
A good catchphrase.
Yeah, you had it typed up on your Instagram.
Probably, if you don't like cash dollar, you can stay broke.
There you go.
Yeah,
So is that the one we're going to stick on a T-shirt somewhere?
it's a good one, I think. But yeah, that's one of them, and that was actually how I ended my promo, and it was a little more, a little more over the top when I said it. But yeah, I like that one.
A little bit more oomph behind it.
A little more oomph, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll wait for you to see you on the microphone and see you replicate that and toss out your catchphrase and see how it comes off then. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
It's time for random questions.
We've come up to the point of the show where I like to go through random questions. These are the ones that I toss out that don't necessarily have to do anything with pro wrestling, but we try to have a tad bit of fun with it. Game show style. So, Cash Dollar, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Guilty pleasure food.
Wait, what? Say it again.
Guilty pleasure food.
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Any wrestler that comes from an advertised football background typically uses one of three moves that are commonplace for football wrestlers. What are those three moves?
A spear, a crossbody,
A spear.
I don't know.
Shoulder block. 3-point stance.
Shoulder block.
You gotta have a 3-point stance that goes into either a clothesline or a shoulder block again. And the spear. Those are usually your typical I'm a football player in a wrestling ring type move.
Okay.
What is the movie role that you would have killed for?
Killed for.
Killed
That's
for.
a lot.
Well, I mean that figuratively now. I'm not hoping that you go out and run. This isn't the Purge. We don't want you to do anything that's going to get you in trouble.
Something like Black Widow.
Okay. I also would
A little
accept the Sonya
action, a
Blade.
little action.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
As I also would accept it Sonya Blade from Mortal Kombat. Just considering that you had the photo up there and whatnot. I think you had the comparative photo of I forget the actress that played her originally in the old Mortal Kombat movie, but you had like a side by side with her, so I would have accepted
either that or maybe Lara Croft or
Hey.
something action packed.
Well, let me just say, and I'm going to veer off for a second. First off, did you see the new Tomb Raider movie?
I did.
You did? Okay. Second question, did you like it?
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it.
Good is safe.
I didn't. Yeah. I didn't think it was excellent. I thought it was good.
Okay. I will add on to that. I did write it up. I said I thought the movie was fine, but I also was, on the other hand, as a fan of the game, I was disappointed. So
Now, did you think it was better than Angelina Jolie's
No.
Lara Croft?
No. I didn't.
No?
I thought it looked better. I thought that the movie, visually speaking, was fantastic. I thought that the actress that played the role was great. Everything in the Tomb Raider movie 2018 was fine other than the story. And I shouldn't even say the story because I was fine with the story up until a point. When it got to the point where they were actively trying to dismiss anything supernatural, like they went out of their way to explain it away. That was where I was like, okay, this isn't a Tomb Raider movie.
Yeah.
And,
It didn't lose my attention, so I when something loses my attention, I know it's bad to me. I consider it a bad movie, but it kept my attention the whole time, but I wouldn't say it was an excellent movie.
no,
But,
I didn't lose attention. If we're gauging off of that, I would say it did its job. It held my attention, and I was fine. And like I said, I can't point the finger at an actress like, oh, she did terrible. You know, she did fine. She did the role perfectly fine. I had no issue with anybody that was on that screen. It's just as somebody that played the game, and I know that there's a lot of supernatural element into it. I was like, why did you go out of your way to take that off?
yeah. So we'll say you're not a fan of that one.
No, I'm not. 'Cause I thought the Angelina Jolie one was a little bit closer to it in my opinion, just based on that. They like, look, we got giant stone statues that wake up and start fighting people. That's just what happens. It's Tomb Raider. You know,
Yeah.
it was fine to watch. So anybody out there, you just got a quick Mr. Green movie review. It was fine to watch, but it's nothing that I would go out of my way to be like, I got to see it again. You know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, but the point of all of that was I went in a roundabout way. The point of all of that was if you do get a Tomb Raider role and you happen to somehow play Lara Croft, make sure the script is good.
Oh, if I do get a Tomb Raider, I don't care how bad the script is, I will take it.
Well, I guess considering the money that she probably got for it,
Yeah.
then yes, I wouldn't turn that down either. Because I'm sure she probably got a good $3 million easy. But that movie got buried. It just wrong place, wrong time, wrong story, and whatever they were trying to set up for in a franchise, I'm pretty sure that's probably got a very slim chance of going further. Just
I'm interested to see what they do with it now.
put it on the shelf.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Well, time will tell. I don't think it made the money that they were looking for at all. And if it's not clearing the money, that's going to make it real tough to put out a sequel. But that is Mr. Green's opinion. We'll leave it at that. What is the best Cesaro match you have seen?
What is the best Cesaro match I've seen?
Yes.
I couldn't even tell you. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll fill in one for you. We'll say Cesaro versus Cena U.S. title open challenge.
That's a good one. He is, I respect him in that he does CrossFit and he knows 5 languages and just a super strong dude. Putting a lot of work in behind the scenes too.
Yeah, he's obscenely strong for all intents and purposes. No human being should be that strong, but that what can I say? Why does Nicolas Cage get a bad rap as an actor?
Because I think that he just doesn't turn anything down. I think he just. I don't know. I honestly, he's been filming a lot, and he was on a roll for a while in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like a few of his movies. Like speaking of Face Off, it's on Netflix right now. The Family Man, that's on Netflix right now.
That's a good one.
Gone in 60 Seconds, right? That's
See,
Nicolas Cage.
look, you naming
Anything
three,
interesting?
you naming good
Yeah,
Nick
I
Cage
could name
movies.
3 Nicolas Cage movies.
So you could do more than that. I bet if you sat and thought about it right now, you probably give me at least 2 more that are good.
Well, the one that I was in, Dog Eat Dog, which was probably not his best. And what else is there? Oh, City of Angels, Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
There we go.
Leaving Las Vegas won an Academy Award. The Rock,
Mm-hmm.
which is a good action movie. National Treasure. I didn't see the second one. I saw the first one. First one wasn't bad.
I think that's on Netflix right now too.
See, look, and okay, look, Nicolas Cage isn't turning anything down, but in fairness to him, and I don't know that I'm going off into movie podcast world. I haven't done this in a while, but in fairness to him, the guy got hit with like a IRS lien, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I think that's why he isn't turning things down.
I'm not sure I would turn down anything either.
Right.
If he was willing to pay me at least $1 million a pop to show up in the movie and I could get this bill paid off, I would crank him out like it wasn't no tomorrow. But as,
Yep.
but
You
as
got to
far
make
as
the money.
yeah, see, but as far as him getting a bad rap as an actor, you know, I know a lot of people tend to point to the idea that the, these scenes where he's overacted and he's done stuff that just would come off as ridiculous, particularly out of context. The one that he gets pointed to the most, at least that I can recall, is the bees scene from The Wicker Man. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
No?
I don't
Okay.
think.
Well, when you're done here and you got time, go on YouTube and put Nicolas Cage The Bees into your search bar up there on YouTube, and what should come up is this guy Nicolas Cage being held down with a cage put on his head, and these people pouring bees inside of the cage. Which I wasn't really aware that you could do that with bees, but I guess I shouldn't overthink that. But they basically pour into this little cage hat like water, and he's screaming, the bees, the bees, So, out of context, that seems like a poor acting job. But my argument has always been the scene is about bees stinging this guy in the face. How is he supposed to act? I don't know.
I feel like that's on a meme somewhere.
It is.
Yeah.
It is on a meme. But again, you're playing the part of a guy that is getting stung repeatedly by a swarm of bees. I'm thinking that him screaming bees arg is appropriate.
I'll have to give you any feedback. I'll have to watch that.
Okay. Name your occupation you hope never to have to do.
Never have to do.
Yes, that you hope you never have to do this.
Well, any of my maybe previous jobs. I mean, I know there are a lot of people have a lot of tough jobs out there, and
Well, now
had it a lot worse than what I had it. But
oh yeah, now we're not talking about we're not knocking the people that act. Somebody got to do it, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I grew up when I was 12. I had a paper route, and then I started working when I was 16. I was in fast food. I worked at McDonald's, and I grew up working. I when I was 12, 13, 14, I had a paper route, and then I did the whole fast food thing, and then I started working in the gym when I was 18, and I don't like desk jobs so much. I have a really, really awesome job right now. I had a job once where I was it was like a third party, and I enrolled people in benefits, so I was on the phone all day, and I could see how many calls were in queue, and I would have like 20, 30 calls in queue at one time. That was pretty, yeah. I was tied to the desk and just had to answer phone calls all day. anything like that where I'm very active, so anything that kind of keeps me stuck and yeah.
It's not your cup of tea to be stuck in an office somewhere.
Yeah, with no way of just kind of getting up and moving around, I guess. So,
Okay.
probably the best atmosphere for me is in a gym, or just having access to a gym, or just being able to like move around and have freedom. And yeah, anything that prevents that would be pretty awful for me.
So when they make the episode on Black Mirror about your life, when they want to find that irony torture moment, you're just gonna wake up in the office one day with the walls all gray and and you can't get out. Just endless rows of cubicles and phones and computers.
Yeah, I'll just be in a cubicle. Honestly, it could be anywhere, just no gym, maybe. That would be my torture.
Well, hopefully that won't happen. We don't want that to go on. Name me 3 football players that have transitioned into the world of pro wrestling.
Oh, wow.
Yes. There's many of them out there. All of them don't advertise.
Oh, yeah.
As many, so.
Yeah. Well, there was a girl at my tryout, Camila Kane.
Ah, yes.
Well, there is Summer Rae.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 2, right?
That is 2.
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
Well, would you like you can toss out Bill Goldberg or Steve McMichael or Hacksaw Jim Duggan or
oh yeah,
Veteran Lad
of women. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you were going with women, you could have said Susan Cashdollar.
Yeah, there's 3 right there.
that would have rounded it out if he was sticking with the women motif. Who is the biggest female action star in the world today?
Who's the biggest female action star?
Yes.
Ooh.
Tuffy.
Surprisingly, like Scarlett Johansson and like just because she's Black Widow and she's in every Marvel movie. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I may have to tend to agree with that. Gal Gadot hasn't done enough to really be the biggest, but I think she has a strong claim to it.
They're actually they're starting to film Wonder Woman 2 this summer, so they're starting that up, and that'll be released in 2019 November. So long wait, but they're filming. They're in pre-production. So
well, it's the biggest hit that they've got right now.
Yeah, right.
Surprisingly, everything else has not worked for them, but her movie did, which is the only reason that I could give her the nod as maybe she would be the biggest. The one element that Scarlett has not had is she has not had a big tentpole singular film. Maybe Lucy. I think Lucy might qualify, but other than that, I think the Wonder Woman thing probably hit a little harder than Lucy did.
Yeah, I agree.
So that is my assessment of it.
Fantasy booking.
So now it is time for fantasy booking. This is the 3rd segment, final, where I have you, the guests, give me their storyline / angle, because I am of the belief that every wrestler, and I guess in your case, a potential wrestling fan or trainee, has at least one storyline that is wrapped up in their brain that they can kind of pull out and like, if I had the chance to book it, this is what I would book for myself. The only rule to this is that I ask that the participants, if you include somebody else, that they actually be alive You know, and within your time frame, meaning you cannot go out and pull somebody like, hey, I'd like to wrestle Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero's no longer here, or anybody like that.
All right. I don't really have a storyline right now for you.
No?
No, I don't. At least a good one.
Well, how creative can you be?
Let's see. I think I might have too many ideas. I don't have like one in particular that really stands out.
Well, we'll fire something at it. If we had to sit down and book you right now, let's just say it's on the independent circuit, and we're going with the bratty rich girl cash dollar gimmick, and we're trying to find you the right opponent / angle to kind of kick you off. What comes to mind for a reasonable thing for Cash Dollar to do?
I'm gonna come out with my muscles, and I'm gonna be making it rain, and that's about as far as it goes right now. I don't want to fill any more than that.
Okay.
It's to be continued.
To be continued. Now,
yes.
See, I think you got to find you a perfect foil for the Cash Dollar character, because and before I go any further, let me just say to anybody that's listening, this is not concrete. She is neither confirming nor denying that this is an actual character trait of the Cash Dollar persona. This is solely Mr. Green coming up with this particular angle. So, that said, let's just assume that you are the heel, because you want to be a heel. You want to come out and be hated. You want to toss some money at people. Well, I don't know if tossing money at people is going to really make them hate you. That might not be the best thing.
I'm going to be tossing money with my face on it.
Now there's difference. You're going to get people's hopes up and have them see that you're giving out fake bills.
Yep, fake bills with my face on it.
All right, so now you need you a nice opponent that can stand on the opposite side, that has a polar opposite persona, background, what have you. I think you need to do the whole hiring somebody just because I can, just so I can run them into the ground. It just be mean and hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want a nice poor girl that needs the money in the wrestling business, because clearly Susan Cashdollar. We're going to say Cashdollar. Clearly Cashdollar doesn't need the money. I'm just here just because I need an athletic outlet. So I already got money. I just do this because I enjoy humiliating people and beating people up without legal ramifications.
All right, so you go ahead, keep telling the story here.
Okay, so now you want me to pitch the story. Okay, so here we go.
Yeah.
We're gonna have Susan Cashdollar. We're gonna start you up. Let me. I gotta think of somebody I can put you off into the ring with. Who's a good indie worker? Do you know anybody off the top of your head that could work you? Nobody?
I have a few in mind. This is your story, though. I want you to go with this. Yeah.
Well,
you do all the work.
Well, let's say Camilla Kane.
Okay.
Let's use the whole football background thing.
Okay.
That you both had that going for you. So we introduced that. We have both of you out. But somewhere along the line, because she clearly works the football gimmick, you would not. You have to establish that, I'm better than that. That was the whole reason I stepped away because I'm better than that. I'm better than you. I don't need. And yeah, I've never needed to do this way. You know, you can come out here and be a grunt and sweat and this, that, and the other. You know, but the whole reason that you're in this place right now is because I told them to do it. You're here under my will, my thumb. And of course, we have to unveil that that's all true. That the only reason that Camilla Kane is in this particular federation, whichever one it happens to be, you can put in whatever you want, is because you paid for her entry to be there in the first place. Thus, making her your servant might be a little harsh, but you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're just gonna kick you into full on abusive mode. Have her tag up with you. Have her be the one that take the loss a couple of times so that you can go into the back room and you can just get into her face and ream her out. Just over and over and over again. You're worthless. You don't know what you're doing. You're stupid. Why? I paid you a loss of an investment. I can't even believe I put this kind of time and cash behind you. You do that for about a couple of months. Well, I'm not saying not a couple of months. We'll do that for about 4 weeks or so, and then enough is enough. And she finally develops the guts to step up and say, "I don't care what you're paying me. I don't care if I lose this job or they kick me out of this promotion. I am going to get my one-on-one match with Cashdollar tonight, you know, and I'm going to beat her ass back and forth across this building." Thus, we have our showdown between the big heel and the babyface. And you got to do everything in your power to cheat to kind of get out of it. But, you know, how's that?
I like it. There you go.
So there's one for you. There's one for the books, folks. Now you can take that one and you can run. I'm going to suggest that you look at the movie Whiplash so you could be just as mean as that coach was and just be as hated as possible.
Whiplash was a great movie, speaking of.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you remember the guy in there?
Yeah, J.K. Simmons.
There you go, J.K. Simmons. Be like him. Count for me. 1, 2, 3, slap. 1, 2, 3, slap that. If you can do that, there's no possible way that wouldn't even be a cool heel. That's just heel to be heel. There's no way anybody could like that.
Oh, yeah, he was a big-time heel.
So you do that, I think you're on the money. And if you go smacking a big girl like her around, then you're really something.
Yep.
So there we.
Yeah, she's 5'10". Camila is 5'10", right?
Yeah.
She's a tall girl.
But you can do it. You can do it. I believe in you,
I like
Cashdollar.
it. I like the whole story. That was good.
Well, thank you very much. You know, creative writing services are open and available. Just take your ticket and give me your plot line, and I will produce.
Yep, that could be your side gig here. Start writing storylines.
I already have. I got several side gigs. I don't know if I need another one. I already write as it is scripts and full on feature length and short story scripts. So yes, I'm there. So when I need to hire me a nice actress / stunt woman, I know where to call you.
Yeah, you know who to call.
Yes, indeed. So, Ms. Cashdollar, final words as far as your wrestling career / aspirations go. I mean, I know we said that the debut is soon. I said within 3 months, but again, for those that are listening, I know that you will neither confirm nor deny that is the case. I'm just kind of putting the time frame on that. But anything else that you would like to kind of toss into there?
Really, just that I'm working hard always, and there's really nothing to report right now. But I'm always working on something, and hopefully I'll have a lot to talk about soon.
Okay, well, let me just say that the door is always open for you to come onto the Women's Pro Wrestling Network and share whatever news that you may have, even if it's just shooting me a message just to post it on the page. It is more than welcome, because I'm sure that your followers and fans and people who don't know they're going to be fans of yours yet will appreciate the information. And I'm going to repeat your social media for those that might have missed it in the beginning or have a short-term memory. That it is Susan Cashdollar, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, although Instagram is the social media platform of choice. Correct?
Correct.
Maybe one of these days you'll get back on Facebook or something, but I don't know. Facebook might have lost its luster for you, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I was very active on Facebook. I think it just, I've been pretty busy lately, and so I'll post pictures on Instagram, but I don't really post too much on my Twitter or Facebook, but it's there, and it'll probably be used in the future, so.
Okay, well then those out there, they should follow it anyway, whether you are active on it right now or not. Get on it. She may come back. You never know. But as far as the Women's Pro Wrestling Network is concerned, then you can go onto our page and the website, and I am updating that website as we speak. It's taken me a long time, folks, to get back into the groove of getting that thing together. I had to get some stuff fixed. But you can go to WPN Wrestling, WPNWrestling.com, and that is the nexus for every social media platform that is available on the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, bar none. Women's Pro Wrestling Network on YouTube, Women's Pro Wrestling Network on Facebook, WPN Wrestling on Twitter and Instagram. I know I wish I had got it all the same thing at one time, but I didn't do that. I didn't have foresight, and I apologize for that, people out there. But those are the things, and if you don't remember, just remember going to the website. It will link you to everything. So that is about as good it is going to get. So it's Cashdollar. A farewell to your fans out there, those that were following you on Instagram, your LFL fans and your future wrestling fans. Would you like to give a mwah or goodbye or a so long or something like that?
A mwah, like a kiss goodbye.
Yes.
I will say goodbye, good night. I am an old woman. It's 10:22, and it's past my bedtime. So I hope everyone has a good night.
Well, that is good for me and everybody from Mr. Green and the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. I want to say so long. We'll catch you on the next go round. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.